Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Good evening and a very warm welcome to the final session of this year's Global Festival of Oneness, dedicated to the celebration of the life, works and legacy of Sri Adi Shankaracharya Bhagavadpada. Let me begin with a short prayer. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Sarvamangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Shri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru-Paramparam Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hare Om. Today we are very blessed to have Swami Sadatmananda Saraswati ji as the chief guest for delivering the valedictory address. Thank you very much, Swamiji, for agreeing to bless us with your participation. We are really grateful for the same. Before we move forward, let me briefly introduce Swamiji to the audience. Swamiji was born in 1962 in Gujarat. His spiritual pursuit started at a very young age, which finally led him to Vedanta. After completing his engineering studies, he joined a 3-year course at Baroda in 1986 under Swami Brahmatmananda ji, who was a student of Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji. And then Swamiji got his Brahmacharya Diksha in 1989 and later continued his studies with Swami Visharadananda ji at Swami Dayananda Ashram at Rishikesh. During this period, Swamiji also was privileged to study under Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji. Swamiji was initiated into sannyasa in 1997 by Puja Swamiji and given the name Swami Sadatmananda. Swami Sadatmananda ji was the Acharya at Arsha Vidya Kendra, Bangalore from 1994 to 2014. The center was later registered as Arsha Vidya Kendra Trust through this center, Swamiji conducted various classes on Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, Purana, Samskrita, and especially there were weekly classes for children and young adults. Swamiji also initiated many social activities through the Bangalore center, and over his tenure of 20 years, the center grew and did great dharmika works, great works for the propagation of Shastra and Vedanta. And later, from 2011 to 2013, under the invitation of Mahamandaleshwar of Kailash Ashram, Rishikesh, Swamiji annually visited Rishikesh and taught Upanishad and other Vedantic texts in Hindi with Bhashyam and Tika. In 2013, Puja Swamiji suggested that Swami Sadatmananda ji to conduct the next course, the 3-year course at Coimbatore. Accordingly, in May 2014, under the guidance of Puja Swamiji, a 3-month and a 3-year residential course on Vedanta and Samskrita was started at Arsha Vidya Gurukulam Anekatti in Coimbatore with Swamiji as the chief Acharya. There, Swamiji also conducted daily classes on Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and other Vedantic texts. This 3-year course concluded in September 2017. In 2020, Swamiji again commenced a 2-year residential Vedanta course, which was preceded by a preliminary course for 108 days. This long-term course was successfully completed in March 2022, despite the challenges posed by pandemic. Since then, Swamiji is very occupied with conducting short-term residential retreats, daily classes, and various other activities at the Gurukulam. He is presently also conducting an informal course in the traditional Gurukulam style involving in-depth study of Vedanta and other related texts, the advanced texts, for a few brahmacharis selected from the previous course. Swamiji in this way has been teaching for over 3 decades. He's a versatile teacher who can reach out to wide variety of audience, both young and old. He's very well versed in Samskrita and applies it to the study of Bhashyam. He's committed to convey the message of the Shastra to the students with depth and clarity, and in a way that reaches them. His teaching style is simple and clear, and he can teach with ease in English, Samskrita, Hindi, and his native Gujarati. So, after the, and most importantly, after the Mahasamadhi of Puja Swamiji in 2015, Swami Sadatmananda ji was appointed as the paramount trustee of the Shruti Seva Trust Anekatti, and he has continued the Sampradaya and kept the Gurukulam vibrant with the teaching of Vedanta while overseeing also the daily administration. Again, Swamiji, thank you very much for coming on the program. So please start your valedictory address.
Yes. Om Sadashiva Sabharambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru-Paramparam Yasya Krupa Katakshabhyam Shubham Sarvam Pravartate Daya Rashim Dayanandam Vandeham Sadaram Mudam. My namaskaram to all of you who are attending this valedictory session, and I congratulate Indica Moksha for organizing this Global Festival of Oneness. It's a wonderful program. They brought so many speakers to this forum, and I'm sure many seekers, many students of Vedanta must have been benefited. So I congratulate all the organizers of this Indica Moksha. It's a very good name, I like it. It indicates the purpose of study. And based on that only, I thought of this topic of the pursuit of knowledge as a means for moksha. Let us first ponder over this word moksha. Moksha is a Sanskrit word derived from moksha dhatu. There is a dhatu itself, moksha. And moksha literally means freedom. People translate this word in different ways: liberation, salvation. But better word, without creating so much mysticism around it, is freedom. Dam in the word freedom has got the meaning state or status. So freedom means the state or status of being free. And the word freedom is a relative word. Whenever you say, I got freedom, to communicate completely, you have to specify freedom from what? Like India got freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from British rule. Students will say, now I got freedom, means freedom from study. Or somebody will say, after divorce, I got freedom. Freedom from troubled marriage. So always the word freedom is in the context of something which was looked upon as bondage. And therefore, when we talk about freedom in the context of Vedanta pursuit, the pursuit of knowledge, we need to make it clear, freedom from what? Freedom is always from bondage. And to understand freedom, we have to understand what is bondage? Different things are considered to be bondage by people in different situations. As I just now said, the students who have to study so much, they will say, this studying is a bondage. When will I be free? Or some relationship is a bondage. Sometimes some job is a bondage. Some responsibility is bondage. So if we give general definition of bondage, bondage is that something you do not want, but you find yourself with. That which is undesirable to you or not undesired by you, disliked by you, but you find yourself with. That is called bondage. What you do not want in yourself, but you find that in yourself. That is called bondage. And as I said, many things can be seen as bondage, relationship, responsibility, etc. But all of them are not fundamental bondage, the ultimate bondage. Why? Because even if you become free from that bondage, what you are considering as bondage, like study, the student wants to be free from this study, considering it to be a bondage. Then after becoming free from this study, will he be completely free? No. He has got now next responsibility of finding a job. Then job itself will become a bondage. So person will be traveling from one bondage to the other. Therefore, all other bondages which are seen as bondage are not the ultimate bondage. What is the ultimate bondage which person wants to be really free from that, and having become free from that bondage, nothing will bind the person? What is that bondage? That bondage is talked about in our Shastra. One way of looking upon that bondage is helplessness. The sense of helplessness can be seen as bondage. Anishaya shochati muhyamanaha. Mundakopanishad. So Anisha means helplessness. That is one bondage. One wants to be free from that. Second way of looking upon this fundamental bondage is this dependence upon the world to be happy, peaceful, and secure. That is bondage. I require so many things to be in a particular way to be happy. People should be favorable to me. Situation should be favorable to me. Then only I can be happy. Then only I can be peaceful. So I depend upon a particular setup consisting of people, objects, and situation. That dependence is bondage. Or self non-acceptance is bondage. Whatever I achieve, I find myself to be non-acceptable. I am not completely acceptable to myself. When I did not have graduation, I was not acceptable to myself. After graduation also, I am not acceptable to myself. Before marriage, person doesn't find himself to be acceptable because people start saying, when are you getting married? When are you getting married? So not getting married gives the person the sense of non-acceptance. People will try to give the feeling something is wrong with you because you are not getting married. So before marriage, there was non-acceptance. And after marriage also, something or the other, wife is saying that you are like this, or husband is saying you are like this, you are like this. And therefore, this sense of non-acceptance continues. And Since we are not able to accept ourselves, therefore we seek acceptance from others. And therefore we always look forward to having approval of others. Thus, self-non-acceptance leading us to seeking approval also can be seen as bondage. And all these are there, the dependence upon the world, sense of helplessness, all of them are there because I am finding myself to be limited. So we can say this sense of limitedness is bondage. I find myself to be limited in different ways, in terms of knowledge, in terms of power, in terms of resources. Whatever we have, we find that not enough, limited. Something or the other will make me feel limited. And that sense of limitation, person wants to get out. Person wants to get rid of. And that is why he keeps struggling, thinking that if he or she gets a particular setup, he will be free from limitation. But it never happens. So person tries the means in the form of karma, action, and does various actions thinking that something will make him limitless. And thereby he will be free from this sense of limitation. But it doesn't happen, because karma itself being limited, it will produce limited result. And I limited plus limited result will be limited only. Limited plus limited, finite plus finite will be always finite. And therefore any amount of karma, any amount of my struggle to get limitless never succeeds. Nasti akritaha kritena. Mundakopanishad says, kritena karmana akritaha aparichinna brahma nasti. Not possible. But at the same time, I cannot give up my desire to be free from this limitedness. I cannot give up desire for freedom. Why? One reason, it is a natural desire. Another reason is, once in a while, I get the glimpse of freedom. I get the glimpse of the freedom from sense of limitation. When I see some natural scene, then my sense of limitation is suspended for the time being. And therefore, I get the glimpse. In Shushupti, in deep sleep, I get some glimpse that, oh, I am free from limitation. In moments of happiness, there is a glimpse. Since there is a glimpse of freedom, I cannot give up the desire for freedom. As it is said, once you have seen your height, you cannot settle for anything less. And therefore, unknowingly person has got this feeling that freedom must be available. I do not know how. And therefore, one does not give up the desire. One keeps searching for this freedom from sense of limitation. In this situation, Shastra comes and tells there is only one possibility. And that is, you are what you are seeking. You are seeking fullness, you are fullness. You are seeking peace, you are peace. You are seeking abhaya, this freedom from fear, you are abhayaswarup. And that question would be, if I am fullness, if I am peace by myself, then why am I seeking? Why am I seeking fullness when I am fullness? Then answer given is that in life it is possible that something is not away from us, still we may be seeking. Many times key is there in our pocket, but we are seeking. In fact, modern example generally I give, that in your hard drive, so many files are there, but you may not remember, and therefore you will be seeking the same file from others, searching for it. Many times it happens. So many times things are with us, but not knowing that they are with us, we may be seeking outside. And in Shastra, generally they give the example of the 10th man. The 10th man himself is the 10th man. So what he is seeking is the 10th man, and he himself is the 10th man. So how come the 10th man is seeking the 10th man? Because of ignorance. Because of ignorance, and ignorance born wrong conclusion. What is the wrong conclusion he has? That 10th man is outside. So because of ignorance of the fact and because of wrong conclusion, 10th man himself is seeking 10th man. Similarly, I myself am what I am seeking, but not knowing that I am what I am seeking, I am searching, I continue my seeking. In this situation, when ignorance is the basis for my bondage, solution can be only knowledge. How ignorance is the basis for bondage? We saw that bondage is in the form of sense of limitation. And sense of limitation is because of not knowing that really I am limitless. So ignorance is the basis for the problem. Then knowledge alone can be the solution. When darkness is the cause for the problem, light is the solution. Up to this, when a person discovers and get convinced, then person will have desire for that knowledge. So far, he was a mumukshu. He might be seeking moksha. I want to be free from bondage. So he was a mumukshu, but now he becomes jignasu. And this conversion of this mumuksha into jignasa is a big conversion in the life of a seeker. Because this conversion gives the direction in his pursuit. Otherwise, he was thinking that moksha will be attained by this. Some people will say Nada Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, or some, what is called, the Rudana Yoga, some yoga. But when a person is convinced of this fact, that my bondage is because of ignorance, and ignorance can go by knowledge, and therefore freedom is by knowledge, his life gets the direction. And he becomes a Jignasu Bhaktaha. He is now seeker of knowledge. So far he was only seeker of freedom. Now he is seeking of this is a search for freedom. He is now getting refined form, and that becomes search for knowledge. And when he gets this question, how to get this knowledge? The answer is, any knowledge is attained by using the means of knowledge. Prama pramanenaiva jayate. Knowledge is born by using the means of knowledge. If you want to see Swami standing or sitting in front of you, what you have to do? You have to use the means of knowledge. So any knowledge is by using the means of knowledge. And in case of self-knowledge, the perception will not work. Because we are talking about the self, which we want to know. That self is behind the perceiver. And perceiver cannot be perceived by the organs of perception. And therefore, this perception will not work for self-knowledge. And since perception doesn't work at all, therefore perception-based inference, etc. also will not work. So all the pramanas, generally we use pratyaksha, the perception, anumana, inference, arthapatti, presumption, upamana, simile. All those means of knowledge are not valid in case of self-knowledge. And the only pramana we are left with is Shabda Pramanam, the means of knowledge in the form of words. And the words are also not of any human being who has experience, and based on his experience, he gives some words. That also will not work. If he can experience, we also can experience. And therefore, these words, which are not of any human being, but words coming from Apaurushaya source, non-human source, that alone is the Pramanam. And in our tradition, that Apaurushaya source is called Veda. And so Vedas are the Pramanam for this self-knowledge. And in Vedas, there are two parts, Veda Purva Bhaga and Vedanta. So Veda Purva Bhaga deals with karma, which will help the person to get this purification of the mind and the steadiness of the mind by practicing the Karma Yoga and Upasana. But Karma Kanda itself does not give the self-knowledge. The self-knowledge is by the later portion, the last portion of Vedas called Vedanta, which is otherwise called Upanishad. And therefore in Vedanta Sara, there is a beautiful statement, opening statement is Vedanto Nama Upanishad Pramanam. Vedanta is called Upanishad, which is Pramanam, which is the means of knowledge. So Vedanta, which is otherwise called Upanishad, is the means of knowing the self. Now, the question is that, can I study that Upanishad by myself? Our Sampradaya, our tradition says, no. This Vedanta, Upanishad cannot be studied by oneself because its language is paradoxical. It will say, Atma is tadejati, tannejati. It moves, it does not move. It is very far off. Tad dure, tadantikecha. It is very close by. And if you try to study by yourself, you will be lost in the words of Shastra. Therefore, in our tradition, it is said, Tad Vijnanartham Gurumeva Bhigache. For knowing that Paramatma, one should go to the teacher. Even though means of knowledge is Shastra, but Shastra handled by, given by, taught by the teacher is Pramana. So Acharya Upadishta Shastram is Pramana. And not the study of Shastra by oneself will give the knowledge. Many people have some resistance to the idea of the teacher, etc. But it is a fact that without the teacher, one does not get this knowledge. One needs the teacher. Acharyavan Purusho Veda. Chandogya Upanishad, it is said, only the one who has got Acharya, Veda, understands this Tad Brahma as oneself. Therefore, getting the self-knowledge, one needs the Shastra, which is taught by the teacher. And learning the Shastra from the teacher is called the sadhana of Shravanam. Of course, our Shastra, one more thing Shastra highlights is that you're going to the teacher and listening to the Shastra will be effective if you are qualified. In fact, for any knowledge, qualification is required. If you want to study MSc Physics, the qualification required is BSc Physics. So similarly, in any field, some qualification will be required. And here in Vedanta, in the pursuit of knowledge, they talk about the qualification, not education qualification, the qualification in the form of sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. Viveka, discrimination between permanent and impermanent. Vairagya, dispassion towards impermanent things. Shama, mastery over the mind. Dhamma, mastery over the sense organs. Uparama, withdrawal from unnecessary activities. Titiksha, the objective acceptance of pairs of opposite. Shraddha, the sense of validity in the statements of scriptures and the teacher. And Samadhanam, the ability to focus. These are the 6 are considered to be third qualification. And this fourth one is mumuksha, intense desire for moksha. So if these qualifications are there, not 100%, we don't expect 100% qualification. We expect only sufficient qualification. Like to pass the exam, you don't require 100%. You require is 35 or 50, whatever passing marks set by the university. So one needs to have sufficient sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. With that, person goes to the teacher and listens to the scriptures. That is called the sadhana of Shravana. Now, question would be how one will get sadhana chatushtaya sampatti? For that, our Shastras answer that by karma yoga and upasana, one will get sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. So leading the religious life with proper attitude will give me sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. Then going to the teacher, listening, this is going to give me knowledge. And during Shravanam, the teacher teaches mainly 3 topics. From the Shastra, teachers, any teacher will mainly teach 3 topics. The first topic is, what is the nature of Jivaha, you? Who am I? Who are you? And for teaching this, Acharya and Shastra uses the method of Atma Anatma Viveka, the discrimination between self and non-self. Based on the principle, whatever I am aware of, I am different from that. Any object, this pencil is something I am aware of, I am different from the pencil. This book I have, so I am aware of this book, so I am different from the book. Similarly, whatever I am aware of, I am different from that. So with regard to external objects, we don't have problem. But when it comes to the body, there is a boundary problem. You know, between India and China, there is a boundary problem. So body becomes a boundary problem. Why? Because body, even though it is objectified by us, known to us, still we consider body to be ourselves. And therefore I say, I am fat, I am lean, I am fair, I am dark, I am Brahmana, I am Kshatriya. All these are based on what? Based on the conclusion that I am the body. So Shastra says, you are aware of the body, you are different from the body, you are not confined to this body. Then sense organs, I am aware of eyes, ears, etc. I am different from that. Mind, I am aware of that. I am different from that. Then who am I? I am awarer of all of them. That is my introduction with reference to the things I am aware of. By myself, who am I? I am the content of awarer, called awareness, otherwise called consciousness. I am consciousness. Pervading this body. So don't think that Atma is somewhere else. I, consciousness, am pervading this body, enlivening this body, enliven these sense organs, enliven the mind, I make the inert mind conscious. Therefore, I am called consciousness. So I am consciousness obtaining in this body, not limited by this body. This is the first topic taught by Shastra. The second topic is the world and its cause. And in this connection, the Karya Karana Prakriya, the method or presentation of cause effect, is given in Shastra, where it is said this world is an effect and Brahma, otherwise called Ishvara, is the cause. And effect does not exist apart from the cause, especially material cause. And therefore, this world, which is an effect, is non-separate from Ishvara, who is the material cause. Like for clay, for the pots, clay is the material cause. Similarly, for the entire world, the material cause is Brahma. And therefore, the world is nothing but Ishvara. So the world is resolved into Ishvara. So earlier, three entities were there: Jiva, I, Jagat, the world, and Ishvara. Now Jagat is resolved into Ishvara. So that is the second topic, where this Jagat is presented as the effect, Ishvara is presented as the cause, and Jagat is resolved, cognitively resolved into Ishvara. That is the second topic. The third topic taught is that Ishvara is of the nature of existence, Sad Brahma, and that Sad Brahma, Ishvara, and you consciousness are one. Tat Tvam Asi. Tat Sad Brahma Tvam Chaitanya Swarupa Atma Asi. You are that. That you are. Means you, Chaitanya, are that Sat existence. Consciousness, you are existence, Ishvara, Sad Brahma. And when this teaching is given to a seeker, a student who is qualified, what will be his understanding? I am Sad Brahma, who am the Adhishthanam, the basis of the entire world. This entire world is non-separate from me. There is nothing to limit me. I am existence consciousness who am available in the form of this world with different names and forms. I alone am the truth of all jivas, the entire Jagat, and even Ishvara. I alone am. I am limitless existence consciousness. When this understanding comes, then I am free from the sense of limitation. And this is called moksha, by the discovery of myself being limitless Brahma. Regarding this moksha also, people have got so many misconceptions. Some people think that moksha is dying is moksha, death is moksha. Some people think moksha is in the form of going to some loka, Vaikunta Loka Prapti, etc. or Brahma Loka Prapti. That is not real moksha. Going to any loka is the result of some karma, and result of karma cannot be limitless moksha. Some people have got this idea that moksha is some instantaneous event. Like today you were bound, and tonight some 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or something you become free. Moksha is not an instantaneous situation or event. Moksha is in the form of abidance in one's true nature. Bhashyakara in Mandukya Upanishad, in Sangati Bhashyam, very nicely says, Rogartasya iva roga nivruttau swasthata. Dukkhatmakasya atmanaha Dvaita prapanchopashame swasthata Advaita bhavaha. This is what moksha is. So moksha is abiding in oneself. And what type of self? Limitless self. So abidance in limitless self is moksha. Swaswarupavasthanam eva moksha. Abidance in one's true nature, which is ever free. Nitya mukte swarupe avasthanam is moksha. So moksha is not a mystical event. Moksha is abidance. And just as the restoration of health, especially from chronic disease, is not one day affair. And therefore, one discovers and strengthens this abidance in the understanding of oneself being free. Therefore, it is a growing clarity. And therefore, there is freedom which is owned up and it is strengthened in course of time. You are free. Moksha, this freedom is not really a happening in Atma. Freedom is my nature. Only thing, because of ignorance and ignorance born wrong conclusions, I consider myself to be bound. And that sense of bondage is removed by getting the knowledge. But even after getting the knowledge, this habitual error in the form of concluding myself to be bound remains for some time. Just as you have changed your house, changing the house is not a small thing. So definitely you know you have changed the house. But for some days, when you are driving your vehicle will go to the old house. So there is no problem of ignorance. There is a problem of habitual error. So there are two types of error. One is error born of ignorance. When I don't know something and I commit mistake, that is called ignorance born error. Other is habit born error. Even though ignorance is not there, but still there can be error. So similarly, I know I am free, but there will be some period of time when the old conclusions again come up. I neutralize it by the sadhana called nididhyasana. And therefore, moksha should not be considered to be one mystical event happening on a particular day. It is a growing clarity. Like I generally give this example. You are relatively adult. Emotionally, you are adult. Suppose you are. Emotionally, you are a mature person. Now, if I ask you, tell me which day you became mature? Emotionally, I am telling, not physically. Can you point out one particular day that Swamiji, on that day I became emotionally mature? There is no such thing. As your maturity grows, similarly, this freedom is owned up more and more in course of time. Therefore, don't imagine some mystical experience happening someday. Moksha is abiding in my true nature, and that amounts to say moksha is abiding the understanding of my being free forever. I am already nitya mukta. Abiding in this understanding is called moksha. And we have some time, 5-10 minutes. Do we have?
Yes, Swamiji. Yeah.
I would like to talk about some challenges people may have in the pursuit of this knowledge, which is the means for moksha. One challenge is people have tendency to externalize the teaching. Whenever they listen to about Brahma, listen to about Atma, there is an orientation of externalizing the teaching. There is some Brahma, there is some Atma. That orientation becomes an obstacle in pursuit of knowledge which can become a means for moksha. Second problem I am seeing people have nowadays is lack of shraddha, not having sufficient shraddha in Shastra and Acharya. One reason for not having shraddha is people do not have, most of the people nowadays don't have that Vedic upbringing. When they have Vedic upbringing, then Vedas are their part of their life. And therefore, Shraddha in Veda grows upon them. And therefore, when they come to Vedanta, Shraddha in Vedanta is not difficult because Shraddha in Veda Purva Bhaga is already there. And therefore, Vedic upbringing was there and Shraddha was relatively easy. But now most of the people are missing. And moreover, this spirit of negating anything which is not scientific, not considered to be scientific, that particular approach does not allow the Shraddha in the person. And let me tell you one thing, Vedas are not scientific. Even though most of the people, some of the, I don't know whether speakers have told, Vedas are not scientific in the conventional sense. Vedas are not scientific because something is called scientific when it is available for experimentation and the proof. Whereas Veda Purva Bhaga is not scientific, Vedanta also is not scientific. The subject matter is not available for any other means of knowledge. In fact, it is not a lacuna. It is not a limitation of Vedas. It is a glory of Vedas. That Vedas are revealing something which cannot be revealed by science. It's a great thing. Swami Dayananda was telling that when he told this thing to one scientist was very happy to hear this, that Vedas are not scientific. So we should not be apologetic about Vedas being not scientific. So people have this approach that I am a very scientific spirit. Scientific spirit is very good in the field of science, very good. In general also it's useful. But when you are entering into this territory which is available for Apaurushaya Pramana, the Apaurushaya Vishaye Vedaha eva Pramanam, that takes little time for most of the people, especially more educated you are, that less possibility of accepting Vedas as Shraddha in some cases. So lack of Shraddha also becomes a challenge. Third thing is, nowadays distraction is so much. This internet is a very good blessing. Because of internet, you are able to listen to this Swami. But it has got so many distractions. It causes some distraction also. So people are nowadays so much distracted. And therefore, the focused approach which is necessary for getting this vision is not available for many seekers. In other words, there is no sufficient vairagya. And another thing is, which is becoming an obstacle in the pursuit of knowledge is, nowadays people have a particular trend or particular fascination or what is called pride in saying, I am spiritual but not religious. That is not our tradition. To become spiritual, you have to go through the religious life. And therefore, those who want to bypass the religious life and directly want to come to spiritual life, they will have a lot of obstacles. Because religious life alone gives you the necessary qualification for making the spiritual pursuit successful. And therefore, this becomes an obstacle. Another obstacle I find in the present day seekers, that is, many of them have got impatience. Means they want everything fast. You know, our time is a fast food period. So everything fast. So moksha also they want very fast. And very anxiety for moksha becomes an obstacle for getting moksha. You know, one Ayurveda specialist told one person that I am giving you medicine, but if you have anxiety to become free from disease, you will not become free from disease. The very anxiety to be free from disease will create tension, and that tension will not allow you to restore your health. So impatience also becomes an obstacle. And one more modern problem is, many people, they do not enjoy the studenthood. They don't like to remain as a student of Vedanta for sufficient length of time. They want to become teacher immediately. And once they become teacher and they are listened to by some people, their learning is stopped. And what happens that they have not learned enough, and now teaching is started, and teaching is always more attractive than learning for most of the people. Because teaching gives you some ego satisfaction also. And therefore what happens? Your pursuit of learning remains incomplete. And therefore the moksha, which is the sadhyam, the goal for knowledge, that is not achieved. And therefore, let us not have any anxiety for becoming a teacher. Becoming a teacher is very useful. But first, remain a student for sufficient length of time and get the blessings, suggestion from the teacher, and after the blessings and this permission from the teacher, alone you start teaching. Otherwise, I have seen that people, they start teaching without sufficient learning, so they themselves are doing disservice to themselves and to others. Therefore, teach. It's a very good thing, which is Swamiji used to encourage people's teaching. But learn for sufficient time. Sufficient time means at least 2-3 years from continuously, regularly. If person has learned sufficiently from the teacher and teacher feels that a student has learned, then one should teach. Another challenge nowadays is that people are nowadays listening to many teachers at a time. And because of that, they do not get a complete vision. It's a patchwork happens. And therefore, best thing is listen to one teacher as a main one. Others you can listen, but keep one teacher, at least one teacher as a main teacher. If possible, listen to one teacher alone. But if that you find too difficult, too boring, some people always want variety. So if it is boring, then you listen to other teacher, but not as much as you listen to your main teacher. And allow yourself to be guided by one teacher. And if you find that the one teacher has not taught enough, or you are not getting satisfaction, you can drop that. You can go to the other teacher, no problem. Going to the other teacher is not a problem. But at a time being handled by 3-4 teachers and listening to them with the same sense of importance will not give complete vision. Especially your goal is moksha. If you have an academic approach towards Vedanta, you can listen to many teachers, no problem. It will make you a little bit more informed. But I am talking about the pursuit of knowledge as a means for moksha. Then it is better to listen to one teacher for some length of time. And then if required, so you want to study further, then you can go to other teacher. So nowadays, what is happening that people will be browsing the YouTube and listen to one teacher and then second teacher, third teacher, and next day another teacher. Therefore, what happens that they don't get the complete picture. Back and forth, they will studying Mandukya Upanishad today, next day Tattva Bodha, third day Upadesha Saram, that they don't get vision. Therefore, let us have focused approach. And if these challenges we handle and lead life, religious life, especially in the initial stage of our pursuit of moksha. Lead religious life, prepare yourself well, go to a right teacher, study under that teacher for some time, and have respect for the Shastra, have respect for the teachers, have respect for the Sampradaya. Without respect for all three of them, this Vidya doesn't come. And also have gratitude towards the Shastra, gratitude towards the teachers, gratitude towards the entire Sampradaya, gratitude towards Bhagavan, the Lord. Then only this Vidya blesses the person and person can get freedom. I wish you all the best in your pursuit of knowledge, leading to the discovery of freedom, which is your true nature.
Thank you very much, Swamiji, for such a wonderful, very enlightening lecture. Especially some of the points that you have taught is something, I'm sure many of our audience would hugely benefit in their personal sadhana. Especially in the last 15-20 minutes, what you taught is a lifetime lesson, I would say. Sticking to one teacher, uh, proceeding in a particular direction, have that moksha is not a loka, is not a goal, but abidance. I think these are all very, very important lessons. Thank you very much, Swamiji, for such a wonderful
Namaste.
session. Thank you very much.
Okay. Namaste.
Viewers, since last 1 month, we have been doing this e-satsang through Shravana and Manana on various topics related to Vedanta and the teachings of Bhagavadpada twice every day. And this has been a great opportunity both for you audience as well as for us, the organizers, to listen to various gurus, vidwans, and seekers. But everything that has a beginning must end. So as we conclude this festival, I want to thank everyone, each and everyone who supported directly or indirectly for the successful completion of this year's festival. First and foremost, my humble pranams to all the gurus and acharyas and other speakers who graced this festival and shared their thoughts and teachings with all of us. Second, I want to thank Sri Harikaran Vadlamani without whose vision, inspiration, and support this festival would not have materialized in the first place. I also thank my fellow hosts Soumya ji, Anuradha ji, Ravi Shankar ji, Prasad ji, Lakshmi, Sangeeta ji, who all took time from their busy schedule to host the sessions, early morning sessions, evening sessions, all of them. I also want to thank my colleague Dr. Nagaraj Paturi ji, who has helped in a number of ways, including in translating and summarizing the Samskrita talks into English during those early morning sessions. I also thank my colleagues Koti Ramprasad and Srinivas, who have handled the back end and provided technical support throughout the festival. Last but not the least, I thank all the audience who joined us in celebrating the life, the works, and the legacy of Shankaracharya Bhagavadpada. I thank again everyone associated with this celebration and who have helped to make this celebration a very successful event. So with this, we conclude the festival. Shri Guru Bhyo Namah.